Hello, future people, and welcome to Great Uncle John's weekly video log. It is Monday, September the 24th, 2018, week 38. I'll try to be more interesting in this episode. One of the two people who watch these videos says he's losing interest, and I'm a little bit boring, I guess. Well, excuse me. I'll admit to living a pretty ordinary life week after week. I get up in the morning, shower, go to work, come home, walk my dogs, make dinner, waste the evening doing something like this. Wait for the weekend to come. When it does, I catch up on some household chores. Maybe we go for a bike ride or drink with friends, and then repeat and deal with the little dramas as they pop up. So, really, I do have a fairly ordinary and boring life. This isn't a hey, look how interesting I am type vlog, thank goodness, or you'd be very disappointed indeed. It's simply a week-to-week vlog, as I've explained before, for the next 24 weeks or so to get through the year. Just giving a rundown on what 2018 was like for you future people. So I'll try to spice it up a little bit and try to do more interesting things, maybe. I don't know. Oh, and then there's someone else who's watching who keeps giving most of my Great Uncle Johns a thumbs down. I don't actually know if this person is watching or not, or if they just wait for Great Uncle John to pop up and give me a thumbs down. So, anyway, I hope someone out there, some future people, I hope you have more love for old Uncle John in the future. Anyway, on to the week in review. Summer is officially over. There's a chill in the afternoon air. It was a crazy weekend. I'm sure you're still reading about the great F3 tornado of 2018. Unless, of course, this screwy weather means that twisters are ripping through Ottawa on a frequent basis. The twister or twisters left quite a mess here, damaging lots of buildings and hurt a few people, and hundreds of thousands of people were without power. Some probably still are. We were pretty good here, just some rain and strong wind. We are told to expect more wacky weather in the future like this, so I guess batten down the hatches. Let's see, in YouTube land, I uploaded my crabapple jelly video. Go check it out. The video turned out better than the jelly, I think. It was an interesting experiment. Oh, the key is, get a candy thermometer if you're going to make any sort of confectionery with sugar, and don't overcook your jelly. It gets rubbery if you cook it for too long. Let's see. Locally, the city election is coming up, and I haven't been paying too much attention to that. Mayor Jim has done a reasonable job managing the city, I think. I think he lacks a certain vision, and overall, I haven't really been that engaged with the election, though, so I haven't been paying that much attention. I was put off by Mayor Jim's opposition to safe injection sites. I thought that was short-sighted. But you can't hang your vote on single issues. I don't think you have to look at things in totality. And at this point, a couple of weeks before the election, I'm not convinced yet that Clive Doucette will be able to manage the city any more efficiently than Mayor Jim. In fact, Doucette seems to be sort of an open-pursed liberal type, so I'm not sure if the city will do well under his management. We'll see. Provincially, Doug Ford is saying that the Liberals have something like hid something like $10 billion in deficit from their last budget. I think they said we had a $6.7 billion deficit, and it's really like 15 or 16 billion. And I would not be surprised at all if this was the case. I hardly think Ford will be the white knight to ride in and lead Ontario to the fiscal woods, but I would actually like to see lying politicians held to some sort of account in some way. They say whatever they want to us and then hide it while they're in office, and then leave afterwards as if nothing happened. So I don't think our government should be allowed to do that. I don't think they should be allowed to tell us lies and then get away with it. So I'm certainly not turning into a big Ford supporter here, but if the Liberals, former Liberals, can be held to account for what they did, then I think that's good. It might bode well for the future. Maybe politicians now will be less likely to lie to us if politicians from the past are somehow held to account. Let me see. Federally, trade negotiations are continuing to drag on. I guess these artificial deadlines keep coming up and going, and like Trudeau keeps saying, it's better to have no trade deal than a bad trade deal, and I support that. Trump will be gone someday, and then we can get back to normal business, I guess, or maybe not. Maybe this is the new normal. Maybe even new governments coming in will negotiate like Trump does, just because it's the new way of doing things. I don't know. We're told that international trade and globalism is the only way, the way of the future, and I tend to believe that. Trump is not a globalist, nor are his followers. It is a different way of seeing the world and seeing economics, and they seem to believe that having closed borders and not having international trade is the way to go. Maybe that's a way of the future. Maybe that's the way economies are headed around the world, and these people are actually ahead of the curve. I don't know. I wish I was smarter. I wish I had more of a grounding in economics. I suppose it's never too late to learn. I can always jump on Google and figure some of this stuff out. But, I tend to believe. I believe what I'm told. I believe in climate change. I believe that global trade is good for us. Why do I believe that? Because I'm told that. I'm not educated enough to counter that argument, and the arguments I've heard, I can't even recite them against global trade. Say, I'm not sure what the argument against it is. I know people are against it, but why? I'll look into that. That might be a future episode. Let me see. South of the border, Cohen is squealing. Trump is on the verge of firing Rob Rosenstein because he badmouthed him last year, and maybe or maybe not joked about wearing a wire when he met with Trump, and also talked about going through having the cabinet declare 25th Amendment on him, which means that they basically get rid of his president by reason of insanity. So Rosenstein has some stuff to answer for, and I think Trump has been looking for an excuse to get rid of him so he can ultimately get rid of Mueller. I don't see how that will work out for him. I don't think it's possible to derail something like this, but I've been wrong about so many things that I guess that's why we keep tuning back in to see if he really can do what he says he's going to do or threatens to do. And if he does, what the effect will be. Will the United States stand up to these body blows to its institutions? I tend to think they will. I am optimistic in that regard. But you future people know if my optimism is unfounded, and if your dystopian Trumpian future is waiting for all of us. Two women have now accused Brett Kavanaugh, the guy that Trump and the Republicans are trying to get onto the Supreme Court, of sexual misconduct in the 80s. And Michael Avenatti, who will one day be president, I'm pretty sure. Right? Mark my words on that, future people. He says he has another woman, I guess it doesn't sound right to say she's in his back pocket, but he's ready to spring this person on the world sometime during the week, and Avenatti usually doesn't bluff, so I imagine his revelation may well be quite a shocker for the Kavanaugh nomination, and it might go down in flames. We'll see. Of course, that just means that the religious conservatives will nominate some other anti-abortion person to the court, but maybe they'll run out of time. If they can't get this through this week, maybe they won't have time before their midterms. And why do I, as a Canadian, care that much about the American elections? I guess partly because it's more interesting than our news. I find it the Machiavellian maneuvers and and the intrigue just endlessly fascinating. I'm working my way through the book, by the way, Fear by Woodward, uh, Carl Carl Bernstein and Woodward. Anyway, the Woodward of the Woodward and Bernstein, and it's good. It's very, as you would expect, well written and well documented. It's a bit dry. I'm not having as much fun with it as I did with Omarosa's book, but I'll give you a book report when I'm done. But anyway, why am I interested? I guess A, because it's interesting, and B, because I believe whatever happens in the United States eventually affects the rest of the world, either through trade or through political influence. You can see in Canada that we've already had people like Kelly Leach, aping the Trumpian populist talking points. So, we're not immune just because they're across the border from us. It is a global world in many ways. We get their media, we get their ideas, and what happens there will happen here. So we have to hope for good outcomes there. And I guess what was fascinating at the start of the year, this whole Trump thing, is now just sort of a grotesque spectacle of Trump himself going down in flames, which is kind of fun to see. But the waiting is killing us, and it's depressing too. The sight of these bigots and racists of various types who feel empowered to express themselves. Luckily it's mostly just on Facebook, but there seems to be weekly cell phone video uploaded to social media. Some Looney Tunes couple, I think, was the most recent one, in a parking lot, yelling and swearing at someone that took their parking space and telling them they should go back home to where they came from and Canada isn't for them, and that kind of crazy stuff. So, I guess dumb people forget that everyone carries around an HD camera these days, not usually in their hand, not in their pocket. So, stupid people beware. The week coming up will be difficult. We've made the decision to have our beloved dog Ripper put down. We've agonized over this and have spent the last number of months medicating him so he isn't in discomfort from his arthritis and anxiety, which seems to really be one of his bigger issues. He's just uncomfortable from his arthritis, but he's just anxious and needy all the time. He's whining and crying and attention seeking, and I think we feel he's just in maintenance mode right now with the meds. And he does have some good days, but so many whiny, uncomfortable days too, and we can't see a scenario where his quality of life improves. It will be a decline into more and more pain over the next while, we think, and so we've decided it's time for Ripper to take his final rest, and the date we've set is this Thursday at 10 a.m. So that's going to be our week, future people. We're going to be steeling ourselves emotionally for that date. We love our dog very much, and it's going to be sad to see him go. So anyway, sorry to end this episode on a downer. That's it for me. We'll be back next Sunday, and I'll see you then. Have a good time between viewings.